So I originally intended to actually release the video that I'm working on using this product before this video so you guys can get a sense of what this product can do before I review it, but that video is taking way longer than I originally thought it was gonna take, and I don't wanna rush it just for the sake of releasing a video on time. So instead I'm just gonna make this video review first, and then eventually you guys will be able to see what video that I'm talking about once the video gets released. I know there's a lot of you that care about what gear I use, and there's a lot of you that care about that kind of stuff, but there's also more of you that just simply want to see me actually putting that gear to use and, you know, getting a little bit more entertainment value from it. So as you guys know, this channel is a photography based channel, and a lot of my stuff revolves around photography, and a lot of the products that I review revolve around photography as well, whether that's cameras, lenses, lens filters, lights, anything that involves photography. That's the kind of stuff that I usually review. But today's video is going to be a little bit different because the product that I have been sent is a little bit different, and the product that I'm talking about is a video slider. So this is a slider by GVM. The model is going to be on the screen right now, and I've been playing around with this thing for about 2 weeks now since I received it, and this thing is super cool. So let's go ahead and dive into this review. As always, I'm going to have everything in the description so you guys have timestamps as well as on the timeline. I finally figured out how to do that. But yeah, let's talk about this slider, because this is a really dope thing that I haven't used before, and now that I have, I cannot go back to not using it. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about all things slider by GVM. So let's start off with what it comes with. So the first thing that you will notice when you order it is that it comes with a carrying case, which is really nice, because if you want to take this out somewhere, you have something that this comes with that you can move around with, right? And this makes its portability a lot more than if it would just come in a box and you had to, buy a separate case for it. So this thing comes pre-built. It comes with everything that you need. So it comes with the case, it comes with the slider itself. It includes 2 batteries, which is really nice of GVM to throw in, and it includes all of the cables and any necessary attachments you need to be able to control your camera and control anything that you mount onto this. What I mean by that is these cables attach to the slider and then attach to whatever you put on to the slider, which of course is probably going to be a camera. With all the amount of cables it comes with, I'm sure some of these cables work with more than just cameras. The case does include a styrofoam kind of hard shell, as well as a soft shell to carry it around with, which is nice because it gives that extra level of protection. With something like this, you probably don't want it to be jostled around in your car while you're driving, because it'll probably break if you do. So it's nice that they include both a soft and hard shell case for this thing. Yeah, that's what it comes with. It comes with, it's pretty simple, pretty basic stuff. Now let's talk about the actual build of this thing, because it is built pretty well. And for how little you're paying for this thing, I'm just always surprised at how well GVM builds their products and at the price point that they release them at, because it always has a high premium feel. So let's go ahead and talk about it. The first thing I noticed when I picked this thing up is that it has a lot of metal on it. It's good for reassurance knowing that this thing has a lot of metal on it, because I can feel comfortable putting my $4,000 camera on it and not feeling like it's just gonna snap mid-slide. So it is built with, I think it's aluminum, it's a matte aluminum finish on it, and it's pretty rigid, it's pretty strong, it has a really good build feel to it, and it feels very solid. If you take a look at it, there's also these legs at the end, which allow you to kind of choose what angle and what height your slider's at, which is convenient if you're using it on the ground or using it on a table or something and you just want a slight tilt or a slight angle, or if the ground's uneven and you need to make the shot even, you can adjust these little legs and it'll allow you to do that on the fly, which is really convenient. Again, these legs are metal of some sort. These legs feel really solid. It doesn't feel like I'm gonna break them, and feels like it can support a lot of weight without bending whatsoever, which is really good. It's a good reassuring feel. Next up is the actual slider itself. So it feels very strong. It feels very rigid. When I took my camera through it a few times, I was kind of watching it to see if it would shake or whatnot, and it doesn't. It stays on it pretty fine. It stays on it really solidly. It doesn't vibrate. It doesn't do anything crazy that you don't want it to. I played back the footage, and the footage looks really smooth and looks really good. And obviously that's to be expected, but part of me was just wanting to make sure that it was gonna be a good solid build. The overall build of this slider is really good. The buttons feel sturdy, they're really clicked, they're really tactile, they really let you know once you've clicked them. The joysticks, same thing. They're very tactile. They're very good feeling. They feel like a good joystick and a good button, and everything about this slider just feels really good quality, which makes it feel more secure. It's more reassuring. The slider also includes a bunch of different mounting holes for it, so you can use it on your tripod, you can use it on your light stand, you can use it on anything that allows different kind of threads. Now let's talk about its functionality and what this thing can actually do, because that's like the bulk of what this video is going to be talking about, and that's what you can actually accomplish with this thing. So this slider is of course a slider, which means it can slide your camera back and forth, but not only can it slide it, it can also do like pans, which is one thing that's like a very small thing, but it adds like an entire axis that you can mess around with, which is really, really cool and adds that extra level of functionality to this thing. So once you go ahead and slap on the batteries, you can actually power this thing on, and it comes with like a little instruction manual on what all the different modes and stuff do. I didn't really go through and read it. I just kind of messed around with it until I kind of figured out what I wanted it to do. And it's pretty simple. It has a couple of different dials and a couple of different buttons if you want to go that route. But the route that I took, and the route that I feel like most people will take, is I actually just use the app that is compatible with this thing to figure out what it does. So with the app, you can actually just control the slide, control the tilt, control the timer. You can control everything that this slider can do with the app, and it makes it that much more usable. This is super convenient when you're filming yourself too, because you can add functionality in terms of controlling it from like a distance, so you don't have to be right there on it. And that's one of the main things I love about this, is that I can just control it using my phone. And the phone app is pretty easy to use. It's super simple. It tells you everything that the slider can do, and it makes it super easy to program the motion that you want with this. You can do forward, backwards, tilt, slide. Literally everything that you can think of, you can do it with this slider, and it's all controlled wirelessly through your phone, which is super convenient. So yeah, that about does it on the overall kind of what this slider can do. Now let's talk about the review of this slider and what I think my thoughts on it are, because I do have some thoughts on it. They're not all positives, but for the most part, they're pretty positive. But let's go ahead and dive into what I don't like about this slider, and then we'll get into the stuff that I do like and some examples afterwards. So the really only thing that I could think of with this slider that I don't really like is that the motors aren't like super strong. So they're strong enough to do, you know, side-by-side motions, but they're not strong enough to really like do fast side-by-side motions. I think the fastest I was able to get it from one side to the other side was about 6 seconds, which is, I guess it's fast, but it's not that fast, and that kind of limits you on what you can do with the slider, I guess. But if you're doing really high-speed stuff, I guess you don't really need a slider to begin with. But the other caveat for this not having super strong motors is it's not able to actually lift your camera going upwards. So I was doing a video and I wanted to see if it would even be possible to do. So I set it up on the ground just to make sure it wouldn't hurt my camera. And I initiated the motor, and it started bringing the camera, and it got to like halfway before the motor gave out. And then it just came and just dropped the camera. Kind of sucks, but what I did notice is, and what I did find using it, is that it does control it on the way down. So when I started it from the top and brought it down, it controlled it perfectly fine. So if you're doing like up down movements, it'll be completely fine with that. It's only overworking the motor when it goes from down and up. And I have a pretty small camera. I have the Sony a7S III, so that's probably as light of a camera as it's gonna get when it comes to video, and unless you have like a smaller camera than that. But yeah, this is a pretty small camera, so it's not like I was really pushing a lot of gear with it. The motors just aren't that strong, which is understandable. You know, you can't get a super strong motor in a form factor this small, but that is something to keep in mind if you do plan on getting this slider, is that you can't really do vertical motion. You can do like slight hill motion, I guess, because they are strong enough to bring it at an angle when it's not, the force isn't directly pulling it down, but they aren't strong enough to bring it straight up, which is a bit of a bummer, but it doesn't, like, I mean, that was just like one shot I had in mind. I can survive without that shot. So completely great for everything else that I've been using it for. So yeah, that's basically the only negative thing that I can think of with this slider. Like, everything else is pretty much positive. I've never used a slider before, and I was able to pick this thing up and start using it on the fly, and I got it to work within like 5 minutes of dinking around with it using the app. So it's very user friendly. It's pretty portable. It's pretty light. I say pretty light because it's a little heavy, but it's light enough that I can like put it on some tripods and be able to use it. And if you don't have a tripod that's strong enough, you can just use 2 tripods because of the different mounting holes that it has. As someone who's never used a slider before, I can't really see any negatives on it. Maybe if you're like a slider enthusiast, you'll be able to find some things you don't like with it. But the really only thing that I didn't like about it was that the motors weren't strong enough for that. And that's not even like a dislike. That's more like, oh, I wish it had that, but it doesn't. So I guess I can live with it without that, you know. Yeah, let's get into some actual footage that I took with this thing. So this is from like an upcoming video I'm making, and also just some other photo examples I'm gonna set up and do. And as you can see, the sliding motion on this thing is super clean. It's super fluid. You can't even tell that it's on a slider. Like, it doesn't chop. It's very fluid. Here's some more footage of it. Here's some footage with a slide and a tilt. And overall, just like all this footage comes out really clean. And I just love the way that it looks. It adds like a more cinematic look to it, because obviously if I'm trying to handhold this with my camera, your micro jitters from your hand is going to kind of show up, and it gets a little shaky. But with the slider, everything's locked in, everything's firm, everything just looks a lot cleaner and more professional. And because you can repeat this motion, you know, you can repeat it an infinite amount of times once you set the loop in your app. You can get the same shot over and over again with different products, and it'll look exactly the same. It'll just be a different product in the shot. But yeah, that's my overall review on this slider by GVM. It's a really cool slider. If you guys have any questions about it, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section below. As always, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any content. I do have some really cool videos coming soon, so make sure you stick around for that. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers, which is awesome. So thank you guys so much for the love and support. If you guys don't follow me on social media, make sure you follow me at MoodyDarkRoom. That's on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, any platform you can think of. I'm probably on it, and I'm probably uploading content there. If you guys like my photography, Instagram's a place to be, or Twitter, or literally any other social media. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.